Special Interest, Street Pulse Beat, Ailbhe Máiréad here on Reprezent Radio, and I'm joined by Sam and Lewis from ITHACA. Welcome.
Hi, Ailbhe.
How are you both?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. How you doing?
Welcome back. I'm all right. I'm really happy to have you both. I've been harassing you on emails for some time now.
As you should, because I've been lax to reply.
Story of my life. I mean, the fact you replied is like one up from most.
I'm not allowed to even email, so it's.
No, it's not allowed.
Why? What have you done?
It's a common
I'm just not allowed. It's rare that I'm even here, to be honest.
Is this your big day out?
Oh yeah. I've been let out for the day.
This is Lewis's first press tour. Yeah.
So try and say the most problematic things possible.
Oh, I can.
Yeah.
It's cancelled. Yeah.
Great. You getting cancelled, I'd love to see it.
Oh god, yeah, that would be the irony of that. Jesus. Yeah.
The difficult third album.
Yeah. Very difficult, yeah.
So Sam, we're welcoming you back. You and Jamila came here. I want to say, I was trying to work out the timings.
I think it was 400 years ago. I think was when we came here last. Yeah.
400 years ago, and I think it was 2018. I think it was before
Language came out.
Yeah, Language came out,
Yeah.
and then all of it sort of happened.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, everything has happened in that time, so much stuff, but you've released an album, it blew up, so many people fell in love with it, and I just suddenly started to see your name everywhere in terms of on lineups and in these really exciting festivals and all this stuff. So now we're in this space in 2022, however many years, if I could do maths, on what for each of you is maybe one thing that comes into your mind that you're most proud of with the band across that sort of time?
I think the thing I'm proudest of in terms of what we've been doing and what the new record kind of represents is it feels, I mean, personally, what I spent a lot of the lockdown doing was I got myself an old PlayStation 2 and I got Final Fantasy 10, and then I just listened to more music than I've ever listened to in my life, and I was listening to much more experimental and different music, and I was watching a lot more films, and there was like a really conscious attempt to furnish my subconscious so that I was coming into so there was a much more of an intentional creative process with this album, and that meant that we all spent way more time thinking about the look and the aesthetic and the ideas, and so although Language of Injury had some clear sort of aesthetics behind it, I don't think it had an underlying concept behind it, whereas this album does have a lot of really clear concepts, and it's very defiant and very unapologetic, and this is such a hackneyed band thing to say, but it is kind of the album that I feel like we were always supposed to make. It's kind of it's definitely what we've been building up to, but actually without the, ironically given the name, without the fear and without the sense that we were trying to impress other people in the scene. I think. Yeah, that's the thing. What about you, Lewis?
What about you?
I'd mirror Sam, but during those times it did feel like time was fleeting and short, and obviously it'd be such a huge regret not to do this album because we had it in us, and so I was always pushing, we were always pushing as a band, and this needs to be done because we were so proud of what we did, and working through all the difficult kind of the times, and then very selfishly I just wanted to put something out just into what is an increasingly ugly world. This album's really pretty to me, and just getting that out is I can still be creative, and that's a selfish thing, but I think maybe yeah.
Beautiful, and I love that that's the way that you're kind of viewing it, because I mean, you're thinking about the visuals, you're thinking about the themes. The visuals are so great already.
Thank you.
Jamila in that orange, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like, this is so great. But all the there's a lot of detail, I feel in every shot. If you study it, there's lots going on and things like that. It's quite exciting when you're kind of able to realize the things that you'd like to. I feel like a lot of the time I have a million ideas, and then I never really know what to do with them, and it's quite nice when you see someone executing it actually.
Thanks, mate. That's really kind, and it's really great of you to hear you say that you can kind of spot all these, because we did think about all those details and we thought about the shots very, very carefully in the video and the promo shots, and as I say, kind of the way we dress, the jewelry we wear, the kind of the reference points and the kind of the nods to avant-garde cinema and queer fashion designers and things that we have always wanted to bring in, we tried to sprinkle them into the last record, but we were don't do too much because everyone will, and it's now we're just no, we're just gonna do it.
They did it anyway.
We just did it anyway. Yeah, exactly. And I think that I just really appreciate you noticing all those details. And crucial to it was two things. One, having a label that's properly backing us. Hassel have been really, really amazing, supportive. But also, as I say, just being unapologetic, throwing the shackles off, and just the spirit of defiance that runs through the record, I think is something we're super proud of. Yeah,
we want to put on a show. That's the thing. Like, I think that's changed. We had a chat like pre this album coming out. Like, we were just like, we're here to like entertain and have fun and go out there and have fun. And maybe like that's like letting the shackles off a bit is like, and especially we did a really big tour with Big Thief pre, obviously, the pandemic. But that was like a real kind of like, no, we're meant to be here. Like, we can play to these rooms and, you know. Yeah.
I used that. I was there, by the way. It was amazing. I used that as a reference point a lot, actually, that show, because I think that was one of the. I think there are a few examples of it, but that for me was an example that these two bands that straddled such different sonic spaces, both of which I love very much, but actually like going and doing it and being like, you know what, like we actually belong. We belong on the same lineup. Like, why not? Like, why do I have to just always see a similar band 3 times at any time I want to go out? And when I saw that lineup, I was like, I can't believe this. It's amazing.
Well, neither could we.
It's so great. And like, so many people were just, I mean, also super confused, I'm sure, some of the Big Thief dads. But amazing. And I just thought like it was such a more like nutritious experience sonically, like going and seeing like two bands doing something really mad, different, but like really loving what they do and really respecting each other at the same time.
That is so kind. Yeah, I think that was definitely, I mean, we were unbelievably grateful to be there, like to the point of like, what happened to like, how did this even come about? But I think like, what I liked of it, like what Big Thief told us they saw in us was just something different and something interesting in heavy music, and which we took as an insane compliment, because they're in their own way, even though they're very pleasant to listen to, they're a very disruptive band, and like disruptiveness, I think personally is like at the core of creativity and at the core of kind of scenes and genres developing. Like if you don't have disruptors and people who are trying to take things in another direction or challenge the form or challenge the established framework of how we should do things, then that is why niche genres like metal stagnate, and that's why I think metal has been on a bit of a trajectory of stagnation, because there's not been enough disruption. Well, I mean, what do I know? Who cares? We're just some poxy little band. But I think Big Thief in their own way are also major disruptors in their world, and like I think that is what they saw in us, which is, I mean, an enormous compliment.
Yeah,
it's really amazing.
I feel like now that space is changing. Like I'm seeing so many more artists that fuel that disruptive force, and
for sure,
it's really exciting because I agree. It's just it has breathed a whole new life into the last few years of at least the more popular, getting more recognition and going on lineups where people go and people actually paying for tickets and things, which means those artists can survive.
Absolutely. While we were recording the record, like the Turnstile album came out, and I was like, yes, it's happening. Like not that, and then like bands like Zulu, Soul Glow, and I was like, it's happening. It's happening.
Soul
guys.
Glow is so good, isn't it?
It's like we're doing it. Like things are changing. Disruption is happening, and the rule book is getting shredded. Sorry, Liz.
I'm agreeing. I'm nodding along.
But yeah, it's really powerful. It feels like we're stepping into a very a creative sort of not incubator. I can't think of a word. It's a very rich, creatively rich environment at the moment that we're stepping into. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I mean, hopefully people will like the record, but
they're gonna like it.
Things are changing.
Let's listen to a taste of it now then. So this is the title track for the album, They Fear Us, and it's an absolute rager. Lewis, I was glad you were coming because the drums on this are ridiculous.
True.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Oh, it's good, lads, isn't it?
Medium.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Medium rare.
That was the amazing track from ITHACA here in the studio, if you've just tuned in. Whew, it's such a good song. And you made some of that in your attic.
Yeah, the program drums at the beginning I did in my attic during lockdown, which is where I was like goblined away during the pandemic. Yeah.
So I was just asking about your setup at home with the drums and stuff. Obviously living in London, no drummers really, unless you have like a crazy mansion.
My dream would be a basement where it's all set up and ready to go, and you go downstairs and I'm so rich and I just play drums and it's great. But I live in a flat and there's no way I can, and it sounds like even like on a drum pad it sounds like someone's hitting a nail into the wall. So I usually just book studio time and
So when it comes to the drum side, you book studio time, do you start to put it together before, or do you all just get together?
We transitioned to like laptop, like writing, like towards the end of Language, our last album, and so now we kind of like we program everything and make sure it's right, kind of go away, learn that, and then come together and realise that it's really hard to play as a band, and then we just keep going and going and going and going. Eventually, it kind of clicks, and
it's like we had to that also because people live in different places. That also, and also because of lockdown, like that there was a necessity to write like that. But also, I think like it makes us super collaborative, because even if Lewis and I come up with something like drums and guitar together, it has to get filtered through the other guys before it can kind of pass. And so we spent during the pandemic, we actually went away for little writing weekends, which is one of the most productive, and it was really fun. We just like go to the beach and just like get really drunk, but like and just like play Mario. But that kind of collaborative working is another reason why we were not afraid to like take some bigger steps to Sam, because we could like get consent from everyone being like, we're gonna do something really stupid here. Are you guys happy with that? I'm just written these programmed drums and that kind of thing. So yeah.
And they were like, yes.
They were like, yeah, they're into it.
So I guess we've spoken a little bit sonically about the record. You were saying before that thematically it's a lot more direct, like has more of a direction than it did previously. And I've seen in previous interviews it been spoken about that there's a lot of anger and sadness, but also ideas around divine femininity, which I love. Can you tell me a little bit more about sort of that side of things with the record?
Yeah, do you mind? Yeah. So I think a few things happened while we were writing and recording Language of Injury that like are really important for the context of this record. So my mum passed away like about a month before we recorded Language of Injury. So when we recorded that, one of the reasons why that sounds so raw is because I personally was in an incredibly raw place. And during that time, before the pandemic, I went to India for a couple of months to basically just to like grieve and travel and spend some time with family, and just like, because my mum was my main parent. And while I was there, I was getting we did a lot of like, just sort of by accident, we kind of followed the Ganges round, and there was a lot of like the divine feminine influence kind of coming through, and this sense of like people go to the Ganges also to release the spirits of people that they've lost. It's this, and they go to achieve this thing called moksha, which is like the next stage of, it's kind of like a form of heaven, but it's kind of, or enlightenment. It kind of sits between those two concepts. Anyway, so that was happening. There was all sorts of other trauma that happened. You know, the label that we were on collapsed because the person who was running it was an abuser. Like, people in the band lost people to COVID or to long-term, or have family who are dealing with long-term illnesses. And there's also a kind of accumulation of almost 10 years as a band of just like I can't swear on this, can I? No. Of just bad just misogynist and racist treatment, to be honest, like microaggressions, subtle comments. Is this your boyfriend's band? Using slurs and all sorts of, over the last 10 years that we kind of just put up with. And we were just like, during the pandemic, we were just like, no, we're not going to stand for this anymore, and we are not going to tolerate this anymore. And so we're going to release a record that is the complete antithesis of that is purely about defiant rebellion against male authority. And that is essentially what the They Fear Us concept is. It's like, you're going to be afraid of us. We look different. We are different. We have different identities. We come from different places to most bands you will have heard of. And like, that is our strength. And that is also, you should fear it. You should be afraid of it, because it's an inherently disruptive force in our scene. I think that's like,
and it's coming for them.
It's coming for you. Yeah. Watch out. Like, honestly, watch out. Like, we're not like, the kind of the misogynists and the kind of lazy complacency that has propped up so much of heavy music. Like, one of our goals as a band is just to get in the way of that, and just to like kick it out as quickly as possible if we can. That's
helps you sound great doing it as well.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Awesome. So I guess more sonically then, from those themes, what about the sonic side? Because I know that a lot of thought, I was reading somewhere, someone talking about the record saying there's influences of Prince, there's influences of Deftones, Van Halen. Like, how does ITHACA interpret those kind of sounds and spaces?
Yeah, I like to say this, like, when we're on tour, I kind of instigated a rule when we're listening to like Spotify playlists or whatever in the van, which is like, there's a metal song and you also have to put in a pop song. So it's like alternating, because otherwise it's just constant metal for like 5 hours, and I'm just like, I can't.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. I'm like, I can't. Get me out of this van.
Yeah.
And I think like from that, I think we all love pop music and I especially love like 80s and like Van Halen and stuff. And so we're all putting in our favourite pop tracks and our favourite Motown tracks and stuff. And then we're like, actually, we all just love that. And like, why can't we instill some of this into the music we're doing? Why is it like, I think language is very much like, we're going to do a metal album and we love metal and that's it. And I think we had a bit of, especially we had some time afforded to do some crazier stuff. And I remember just like, there's a track on the album which is a bit of a ballad. And there's a bit of power ballad stuff, and I remember one day I was like, guys, can we just do like a big 4/4 ballad thing? And Sam's like, oh, okay, all right, you know, and then, you know, it kind of stuck, and like, but we had so much fun doing that. It's like, why limit ourselves when we're actually smiling when we're recording this, you know? So
and like it's as Lewis says, it's just part of who we are as musicians. like my most important guitarists in my life are Tom Morello, Brett Hines from Mastodon, and Prince. Like, Prince is such a huge influence on my guitar playing, on me as a person. Like, ever since I was a kid, I've been like a little bit obsessed with Prince, and so it was like, as you said, like, why, as Lewis said, why can't we bring that influence in? Literally, what is his whole deal was bringing in like metal sounds and pop sounds and R&B sounds, and like defying color barriers, defying genre barriers. So, and like, why can't we and other bands like us do that now? I think was the spirit again of Defiance, you know.
Absolutely, because it is that, and it was like, if Prince decided to make a band that was in any genres ever, you can guarantee it would be the best band in that genre that ever would be. Like, I would love to have seen him do black metal or something.
Yeah.
Like, it would just be, it was just unmatched.
Incredible.
That power and that energy and the talent. I love that, because it really is that thing about not living on bread alone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, as much musically, there's so many things I love, but sometimes you do just. I was listening to Girls Aloud in the shower yesterday, and I was having the best time ever.
I went to see Dua Lipa at the O2, and I had like the best time, and it's because I was just like, oh yeah, like I've been doing all these niche gigs and stuff, and I just went, oh yeah, bit of pop, and like just like definitely. I was loving life, just like dancing to Dua Lipa. Yeah. I've
got Gaga tickets for end of July.
Oh, come on!
Like, that is, again, this is just like a part of what we like. Like, there is a joy and an exuberance that you can bring to heavy music, you know. Yeah,
absolutely. And also, it's like, for me, as much as all the music that I love, I think perfect pop is the best genre there ever is.
For sure.
Because if you can make a song that everybody in the world loves, how good are you?
Definitely. It is an extraordinary, like, all the best bands ever, including heavy bands, are bands who admire pop music. Like, I mean, this is so obvious, but you know, like Kurt Cobain was obsessed by pop music, and I feel like if you're not, like, chat to Conjurer, they're the same. Like, they all are obsessed with Carly Rae Jepsen, and I think it's like all the best bands, heavy or not, like, have to acknowledge how incredible pop music and what it is and what a genius art form it is. Like, yeah.
And try and harness it in your own way.
For sure. Yeah. That's why Conjurer's tunes are so good, because they are structured well. Like, they're structured in a way that is engaging and good. You know, why am I gassing up Conjurer? Does that? They don't even need gassing up from us.
Shall we get them on the show? Actually, all right,
exactly. All right, cheers, lad.
All right, well, let's listen to the most perfect pop song that's been released this year, "In the Way" by ITHACA.
Oh yeah.
Sam, after this, what are you going to be showing for us? You're going to be in the shipping sessions.
Oh yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of a ambient interpretation of a thing we've got coming out in a couple of weeks. One of the singles from the album.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that.